Greetings and welcome to Mount Olympus. I am Hercules Invictus, and tonight on Hercules and the Space Gods, I'm proud to bring you Disclosure Network with the one, the only, the legendary Nick Curto. Greetings,
Whoa, thank
Nick.
you for
How are you?
that wonderful introduction, Hercules. I do deserve it, but still, it's good to hear
Yes, you do.
it. Okay, well, we got a great show for you tonight. A subject matter I have never heard before, and I've been around the block a few times, so it's new to me. I think it's going to be new to a lot of our audience tonight.
Do you want me to break the ice on that topic?
Well, no, I just want to just say welcome, Ade. No, Thurbin. Is it Thurbin how you pronounce your last name?
Tobin. It's a TH, but you
Oh,
only pronounce the T.
okay. So Tobin. Tobin, Ade Thoben. She is a member of Disclosure Network New York. Um, she's a dear, dear friend of mine, and she's got amazing, amazing stories and adventures all through her life. And it's a pleasure. Thank you so much for being on my program. I've been looking forward to this.
Oh, I always have fun when we get to talk together.
Yep, it's always a pleasure. And let's get right into it. Let's sail. What should we talk about first? We have a few things to talk about, but what's the number one?
Well, we'll talk about the newest. You were saying this is new to you, new to your audience, new to me. I just discovered this. There's something called the telepathy tapes. I didn't even write down the name. It's by K-Y, somebody. It's a lady. It it has to do with the nonverbals, especially the autistic, and there's others too. And it was recommended for me to watch this. Well, actually, listen, they're audio tapes. I've listened to season one, 1 through 10, and I'm on season two, episode one and two. I'm on episode two. So these children, it was discovered last year, or actually it was made more public, but still kept kind of quiet, that these nonverbals are telepathic with each other.
Oh,
And parents were discovering that the child needed something. Let's say the child got their finger stuck somewhere in another room, and the child would send a signal to the mother, and the mother knew just to walk in the room. And this would go back and forth. The child would know what the mother was thinking, where the birthday presents were hid, what the birthday present was. What I mean, you could not keep a secret from these children. As a matter of fact, when they communicate with each other, and they don't even have to be in the same zip code, they tend to meet in a place of a collective consciousness. They don't lie to each other. They can only tell the truth because their heart. You have to be true. Now, I found this fascinating because there's so much talk about us all going into 5D, you know, what do they call it? Ascension or elevation, and nonverbal, like people will be talking telepathically. Well, just think of it. You can't lie. I think that's marvelous. I would like to live in a place where people were authentic. So I
you
really
know,
didn't
this
have any.
reminds me of, Eddie, very much of the communication that many people have reported when they've encountered ETs. And it's not verbal at all. It's the people say, there's, I could hear them in my mind. And it was very clear. And it just a little bit sounds like to me like what you're saying is the same sort of thing, that this is very real, and it's now to have children doing that, that's pretty amazing. Is this study in New York in America, or is it Europe too, or where is
Yeah,
this?
it's everywhere. Yeah, the
Okay.
UK, yeah. And to add a little detail to that with this nonverbal, they did describe it very much how ETs telepathically communicate. I've experienced it because as my thought would come forth, the reaction of the other being was just instantaneous. It just the flow. It's so different. I mean, unless you've experienced it, it's really hard to put into words because it's nonverbal. So, all right, let's see what else here. I wrote down a few notes from an email I had sent to somebody on this.
Mm.
So the most important thing to these children, and some of them are young adults too, you know, they could even be in their 20s, but still nonverbal, is the love and compassion that they know between each other. Um, in the way they communicate with, like, say, their parents, or there's speech coaches, you know, they're trying to get them to talk. Some of them are able to type, not real proficiently. Some are slow. There's probably multiple sclerosis nonverbals, and they have a difficult time, but they can eventually type out words. So the adults call them spellers. They have to spell everything out. There was one young man, he didn't type, but he found a way to take a pencil and point to, I think it was a stencil, A through Z, and then numbers, and he
Mhm.
would point out the stencils. It's just what he got into a habit of. And now this was what really blew my mind. All these children, no matter where they were, I can't say all, but a lot of them, they all knew about this place they call the Hill, which is not a physical place, it's a collective consciousness meeting. You can think of it like a cell tower, you know, and they all meet and communicate there. They just go into their place and talk, and they know each other's name. They've had relationships, you know, boyfriend, girlfriend, and eventually two of them met. And it was just amazing, just the caring they had for each other. Um, Now, because it was a place where telepathy was all over the place, you know, the dark side always loves to interfere with that. Well, that place is protected by a an angelic or angelic beings that keep the negatives out. Even the nonverbal kids know, they can sense when something bad is coming their way, and it's kept clean. Now, some of the kids have said that they have talked to God, which I was like, wow. And one of them said, um, you would love God's house. It's beautiful.
I bet
So
it is.
yes, and these kids really haven't gone to church. Some of them are even been introduced to religion, but they know God.
So they are spiritual too. They are spiritual children
Yeah,
also, and with extra perceptions. That's pretty remarkable. That really is. Wow.
yeah. Now, one of the teachers had asked them, one of the students, she said, God has been given many names. Is it many names or many different gods? Or is it just one God? And the child responded, there are many names like Buddha, but it's only one God.
Wow.
Yeah, I found that very reassuring.
Well, again, this is pretty amazing. You know, sometimes, not on this level, but I'm sure you have had this happen. I have, and I'm sure a lot of our listeners also, that you can be walking on the street or you can get on a bus or whatever, and someone will somehow send a vibe, or I don't know if they're intending that, but there is a vibe of very wonderful, good, gentle, loving people, or look out for that particular person. And this sometimes it gets very intense. I'm sure you've had that experience too.
Probably not as often as you because you live in this city, so you have so much exposure, and you're probably a lot more cued into it than I am. I do sense people, but then again, I walk around with an air of protection around me too. So, but I can judge people's by their demeanor. I don't know, something about what they give off.
Sometimes the closer you get to them, the stronger that feeling is,
Mm-hmm.
and I've had the experience of getting on a bus and, oh, just don't sit there, get away from the particular person. And they're not looking at you. They're not threatening you in any way. They may be even looking out the window, but something is say, stay away, be
Mm-hmm.
safe. So I just wanted to put that on the table because it's a kind of a form, again, of a warning of something that is perhaps just built into us,
Mm-hmm.
right? Maybe it's for survival. I think probably that's part of it, survival of looking out and trusting your instincts. And the children, though, doing what they're doing, I mean, that is pretty amazing. Well, I'd love to talk to one of those kids. Oh,
Me
boy.
too. Me too. And yeah, this is survival. When what we have been given, as a matter of fact, you know what the kids say? We're the ones with the handicaps.
Oh,
Because we have to talk. They said it's such a slow way to communicate.
wow.
And we
I see,
have
and that
lots.
does, see, it makes sense. That makes sense because honesty is part of that vibe.
A long time ago, it could have been a decade, and I don't know where I heard it, read it, or saw it, or spoke to somebody, but I was told, air quotes, that autistic children are the children of the future. They are the star seeds. And I went, the nonverbals. And now I put that together and connect it to the telepathic side of them. I'm thinking, because I thought that was a weird thing to say, but I never forgot what that person, whoever it was, said, that they were the children of the future. And who would have known? And
Wow.
there's a lot to understand about them. We are not grasping because we have difficulty communicating, and unless we're telepathic and cued into them. For instance, you've probably seen or heard of a scenario where an autistic child will want to be just completely secluded, cover themselves with blankets and pillows, and just like everybody get away from me. Well, they found out that's when they want to go to the hill. They block off all outside stuff and they just want to talk to their friends. So then you have parents trying to pull them away, thinking they're going into some kind of regression. And then they get into a fight over it because all the kid wants to do is talk to his friends. So another thing I learned too, I remember one of my friends used to care for a boy with multiple sclerosis who was in a wheelchair, and his hands were, he would be flailing. Sometimes the kids would just get flailing. I found out they're trying to find their hands because they can't feel them. So by flinging their arms around, they can find their fingers and their hands. I went, oh,
Wow.
so it's not just spastic movement for no reason. There's a reason. We have so much to learn. It's almost embarrassing to be a
Well,
human.
that's the understatement, as you well know. The more we know, the more we realize what we don't know. And this goes on all the time. And in a way, it's good, though, because it kind of opens up the door that there's a lot more out there, and you keep your mind free and open to new possibilities, and don't just shut something out. Look into it, explore it, see if it rings a bell to you.
Hmm.
And I'm wondering, quick question, the children that have this, I'm going to call it a gift because I believe it is a gift. Is that when they grow up, do they still have it? And is there anything about their parents or their grandparents that ever had that when they were children? Is there any study on
Well,
that?
I just started listening to these telepathy tapes 4 days ago. So
Oh,
I'm only on season two. The parents, I don't believe there was a history. Siblings, I don't believe I ran across an instance where there was another sibling. I don't recall grandparents or relatives or anybody else uh, specifically referenced.
sometimes when I'm doing an interview and we're talking about paranormal phenomenon of various kinds, or perhaps an ET contact or sighting. And one of my questions that I normally ask is, Has this sort of phenomenon ever happened to your parents or their brothers or sisters or your grandparents? And sometimes the answer is, why, yes, my grandmother was very psychic. And uh, you get answers like that sometimes. And sometimes it will run in the family, or certain members will have an ability to have a little more gift than others. It's look of the draw. But it's interesting how that works, and
Mm.
it's going to be so interesting as these children become teenagers and adults, if that communication, and I hope it will, continue and to get stronger.
Well, I did give some thought onto why they are the way they are. And I don't know. Well, the talent, for instance, if somebody's blind, they have very acute hearing. Some people can do echolocation when they're blind, and they can sense walls and even railings and obstacles in front of them. So I don't know if this was developed out of a need or whether it's a gift,
Could be
because
both. It could be both too. That's also possible.
this is beyond telepathy, if you ask me. This is just like a telephone. They had two, a boy and a girl, I think it was. One could have been in, West Coast, the other in East Coast, and they would talk on the hill. And eventually the parents got together somehow through the, autistic connection uh, network, and the two of them got together and met. And they already knew each other's name, never having met before.
Oh boy. Wow. No,
And they
that's
knew each other.
really interesting.
Oh yeah, they hugged. They were like, "Wow, hi." So I am really floored. There on these tapes also. There's animal communication. These children tend to have animals that will just go around them because they'll talk to the animals telepathically. But the tapes also, a couple of them. I think it was episode 2. Yeah, season 2. There's another one on the season 1. I forgot which episode it was. It could have been 8. They totally just talked about animal communication, and these children talk to the animals all the time.
There's more communication. I was reading about, I'm sure you've read things about trees that communicate with each other. And when there's a threat, there's some sort of a communication too. Of course, animals communicate all the time with each
Yeah.
other. And for survival, again. Um, these things are so connected, more than we ever thought. It's such an interesting subject, just that alone,
You,
when you're thinking of what's going on and how we're connected. And
you
maybe
just jogged
distance
my
isn't
memory.
isn't necessarily the barrier. Obviously, it's not.
You just jarred my memory. Speaking of language, this is another fact. They discovered more than one of these autistic nonverbal children are multilingual. One of them knew like 5 languages because
Wow.
because they talk to people from all over the world on the hill. Can you imagine that?
Yeah, that's incredible. That is
It is,
absolutely
and we're looking at them
amazing.
like they're not intelligent, and they are. Some of them are savants, like with numbers or whatever. Um, but some of them are just like us, but they can't talk. They call them neurodivergent. Now, I haven't looked that up yet, but I will.
When you were referring to the where you're reading these reports, could you tell us again where we could find that? What's the title? And just because I'm sure myself, and I'm sure some of our viewers will want to dig into this more. How can we do that?
There, it's titled The Telepathy Tapes, and I highly recommend you start at season 1, episode 1. You'll benefit by following it because you will get the increase in the buildup of the gathering of the information and then the proof that goes behind it. And there's characters that show up throughout the episodes. I think the woman's first name is Kai, K-Y. And here her name, I forgot her last name. I was in a bit of a hurry and I neglected to write it down before we tuned into each other here. But yeah, the
Well, we'll
telepathy.
look into that, and YouTube would have that, I would think, right?
I heard it was
YouTube.
YouTube. You can get it on Spotify,
Oh, okay.
Apple, and it's audio only. I know they do have a few that will give you some shorts where you can get some video and meet a couple of these gifted children.
That expression, the hill, isn't that interesting? The name, the hill. It seems like a place that you go and up, and it's a place where you can receive. Doesn't it sound a little bit like that? Like you go up on the hill and you receive, there's no obstacles up there,
Right. Yeah,
you
very
know?
free. As a matter of fact, one guy, his name was I think it was Dan. He showed up at the either the end of season one or beginning of season two. And he was an outsider. I can't recall how he got involved with the telepathy with the children, but for some reason it was a deep interest with him. And so he wanted to explore to see if he could meet anybody on the hill. And he went into a deep meditation. I think he spent like 40 minutes even. And he came to a place, I believe, that looked like a hill to him, but there was nobody there. But he had a good visual of it. He might have spoken to an invisible being who gave him the details elude me, but I think he was given advice. Then he was able to connect with the kids, and he was allowed in just because of he was authentic in his heart. He was honest, and he wasn't a danger to the kids at all. So I haven't gotten too far into it where he's spoken a lot about it, but he was successful in getting
How
to the
many
hill.
episodes are there? Do you know how many are offered?
I Well, I tried to find out. I think I saw 19 altogether,
Oh, oh
between
wow,
season one and
fantastic.
season two, but I don't know. They're going to be putting out more and more. I'm just trying to catch up because it
And where is
started.
it? Is it where the orientation? I mean, the where it's taking place? Is it in California or New York, or do you know where this is taking place? The
No,
studies?
it's the U.S. mostly. This girl who has this the basis on it. She started, I believe, with some of the teachers because the teachers were the ones who were noticing, and the parents would talk to the teachers and vice versa. Unfortunately, the a lot of the what would you call them? Communication teachers. They help the nonverbals. They're run through state funding or whatever, and this discovery of telepathy is not promoted for their use to benefit the students. I won't go into it much more there. You can put two and two together. And, but this Dan was very surprised. He was wondering if it's because he had a difficult childhood. He always felt like an outsider. And as he grew up, um, he also had health issues. So he'd been through a lot between he was Jewish and he was one of two Jewish children in his school. So he felt alienated there religiously. He was also gay. So he felt like an outsider there. And then he ended up with I forgot what the name of the disease was. I've heard of it before, which gave him a rough time in young adulthood. And then he had stage four cancer.
Oh,
Yeah. And that, so he's just been through it over and over and over again, which probably through the test of time gave him some sort of a fighting heart and a good spirit. But he cured his own cancer through meditation or something. It's
that
gone.
is, oh my God, how incredible that is. Can you imagine? Wow. And
So that
again,
was
it takes your breath away when you hear stories like that. One other thing I
Spectacular.
wanted to put on the table before we go to another topic is that our group, Disclosure Network New York, by the way, we're going to be in our 28th year in a few months. 28 years. I can't believe we've been together that long with our UFO ET paranormal group here in Manhattan, but we have. And a few times when I've been with other people and we've been meditating and hoping that we could see a UFO, possibly, and we try to send love and try to send peace, and we just want to communicate with our brothers and sisters. And two times, I would say three, but two for sure, is that we were answered. That that again from far, far away. In one case, a light on a very distant mountain, a little orange light. And I asked the woman, why is there a tower, a broadcasting tower on the distant hill? And she says, oh, yes, Nick, I see the orange light, the little orange light up there, but it's not a broadcasting antenna. That is deep woods. I said, well, but do you? He said, yes, I do see it. I don't know. I can't explain it. And right after she said that, there was a little bit of motion and it slowly moved and it was going towards where we were. And there was a very long distance. And finally, it literally very slowly headed our way and went over our head. I have no idea how big it was or how high up. I have a feeling it was very high up, but it knew we were there. It did. Whatever it was, he or she or whatever knew we were there and gave us a little gentle hello by flying in our direction. That also happened to the group when we went to, of all places, Central Park late at night, like about 9 or 10 o'clock, and we were meditating with Dr. Stephen Greer's meditation tape for about an hour. It was very dark. The sky was absolutely clear. A couple people had to go home, but the rest of us wanted to stay a little while longer. And there was nobody else in the park that we could see. We were the only group, and we were right by Cleopatra's Needle, right behind the Met Museum, Art Museum, which is a wonderful thing to see and to be around, that beautiful obelisk. And we were meditating again with love and outreach that we're here and we're just opened. And someone in our group, his name is Francisco, wonderful Francisco, a quiet person, screams, oh my God, turn around and look up. Everyone do this. And we did. And these three white lights were in the sky, very, very far away. But they looked like stars, white lights, but they were slowly moving. And we were just spellbound. And slowly they started moving towards where we were. And no sound, no wind, of course, nothing like that. And when they got near us, over us, and here it comes, they stopped. They literally stopped for about 20 seconds. Nobody could speak, as you can imagine. And then they continued on the same path that they were flying. But it was again a nod. We know you're there and you were communicating and we just wanted to give you a nod. That's the interpretation we had. There was no fear involved. It was simply, hi neighbor. I had to share that because again, the feeling of connection is running through our little talk and the wonderful children you're speaking of, this incredible connection that can't be easily explained, but there it is. So I just
And
wanted to throw that in.
and distance does not matter.
Absolutely. I'm convinced of that now. Absolutely. It's not a barrier. It's not.
So I'll use the healing of Dan through his meditation as a segue into this next topic.
Okay.
But I kind of got to back it up to last year since we have a little bit of time to talk.
Sure.
There's a Sunday evening show from Eastern Time, 11 p.m. to 2 a.m. It's called Paranormal Soup. Jason Bland hosts it, and sometimes he has on guests. And this one particular night, he had on a woman named June Lundgren. Never heard of her. She's called the Demon Seer. Long story short, from childhood, she was prophesied to be merged with an angel, the Ariel, the one who's one of the archangels. Apparently, Ariel was sent to back to Earth because Ariel lacked compassion. Ariel battled demons, and one woman, this wasn't the first case, but apparently Ariel went and ripped a demon out of this woman who kind of asked for it and got herself into trouble. You know how people do with Ouija boards or whatever. And this was way back, but so Ariel was put into a human body for a while to learn compassion. And I guess June has had quite a few Earth lives. This is her last one, Ariel has learned. But she still battles the demons. She doesn't battle them, she will destroy them. And once they're gone, they're gone. So, you know, she taught us a lot on that show about what she does. And at the end of the show, you can call in. And I called in and told her about some of my events. I've had some scary stuff happen. Being a spirit medium, it seems very often people will just fall in my lap, not just to get a spirit reading, but when we're done, they're like, hey, I have things moving around my house, or my life seems to be a mess. I'm behind the 8 ball and there's this darkness in the house, you know, so I'll go and investigate and figure out what's wrong. And I've run across some demonic stuff, needing the help of a demonologist and an exorcist. And, you know, I've been under attack. So she thought that was cool because I don't charge people. I just help them for free. She said, well, you can call me. She goes, send me an email and I'll talk to you for free. I thought, great. And this was back in, it could have been October, November of 2024. And I never got back to her. I did donate some money on her site because she cleared my house. Since my husband passed here and he had something come out of him that was evil 2 days before he died, the residual was here and it attacked me and I still had residual, and she destroyed a black, or what you call a dark portal in the house too. And I could feel the difference here. I mean, it was weird. It was like all even. It was like, wow. Like you open up the windows for the first time in the spring, right?
Wow.
But a little over 3 weeks ago or somewhere, I thought, you know, why don't I call her up, you know, email her. And so I did, and she got right back to me. And she said, can you talk tonight, 6:30 your time, because she's on the West Coast, Oregon. 3:30 her time. I said, sure. So we got together and we talked about, oh gosh, what did we talk about? Dragons and some of my events and other questions. I had some curious things I wanted to know about. And then she said, you're a warrior. I said, I know. I said, I've been telling people that kind of offhanded all my life, a big part of my life. I always felt like the protector, the defender, with no fear. I told her how I have no fear because of what I went through as a child, meeting this blacker than black evil thing that almost killed me. So I was kind of practiced at uh, not being afraid. So she said,
I'm
would you
very
like?
protective too. It's funny you would say that because people have said that, Nick, you are so protective of
Mm,
everyone around you and yourself too. And that's true. It's very deep rooted, and I can spot trouble a mile away.
yeah.
And I know how to get around it or defend it or get rid of it. But I'm very much like that. So I really get what you're saying.
You probably have a warrior angel. There's the archangels, and then I think there's what, 8 of them, and they're on. She's met 7 of them, or I think she's missing one. She's located all the other archangels embodied on Earth right now during this time, to do what they got to do. because these are the end of days. But everybody has an angel. Below that are the warrior angels, and they each have their forte. They could be facilitators, communicators, healers. She said not only was I had a warrior angel, but it was a healer and a communicator. And I told her, I said, "Oh, healer, yeah." I said, "I've got these Vogel crystals I've done healing on. I healed my broken toe with this little Vogel crystal and a stray cat from a distance. The thing was running by nighttime, and it was very injured and other things." And she goes, "Oh, those just accentuate your innate abilities that you already have." And I went, "Wow." So she said, "Would you like to merge with your angel?" I said, "Sure." She said, "Would you like to know its name?" I said, "Yes." She goes, "Well, write it down." She goes, "They only tell it once and it's a sacred name." So I said, "Okay." So she gave me my angel's name. And then she told me that night, and I should get it done that night, to sit back, call your angel, and say you want to merge with your angel and that you give your angel permission to do this. And she said, just stay in a quiet place where you're going to be undisturbed. So I went, oh my goodness. So finally late, I took a shower, and it was about midnight. And when I finally got out, got dressed clean, and I sat in the chair, I do readings. And she goes, you could sit or lay down. She said, you might fall asleep. Excuse me. And I said, all right. So I said what I was told to say. Sat back in the chair, and I had my feet propped up on a stool with a pillow, little pillow behind my neck and my head, so I could just be very relaxed. And I didn't know what to expect. She says, you will feel different when you're done. I said, okay, whatever. I thought it would be a positive somehow, but I didn't know what to expect, what I might see, what I might hear. She said, you will hear a voice, and it won't be your voice. I said, oh, I'm familiar with that because I've been talking to my guides for years and they all have their own voice. So as I was sitting, I heard a voice, but I couldn't make out what it said or couldn't even remember what was said, but it sounded like two voices together, like male, female. And I said, okay, it was odd, but definitely unique. Then I started to see something. I saw some kind of gold and a little pinky rose color, but it wasn't in the shape of anything. And I waited. It seemed like about 5 minutes. And the next thing I know, I opened my eyes. It's 1:30 in the morning and 90 minutes went by. I went, wow, what happened? So I thought I would be stiff, but I wasn't. So I got up out of my chair, got a blanket, and I went to lay down on the couch. I fell asleep there, and I woke up feeling really good. Matter of fact, exceptionally good. And the reason why I say this is that since 1988, I had a severely injured back. I'm hypermobile, so my bones were twisted out of place for a very long time to the point where I couldn't walk anymore. I was crawling and excruciating. I'm not going to get through the history of that. Miserable for many years, but I was
Sorry to
still
hear
able
you
to
had to go
walk.
through that. Very sorry to hear that. Oh boy.
Yeah, but I could still walk and stuff, distance and all that. But I would get into trouble. I would slip out of place once in a while if I drove standard. You know, Then I got in a car accident, and that really did me in. Now I walking up and down my driveway a couple hundred feet. It was I couldn't do it without. I couldn't do anything after doing that, getting the mail. I had to sit or lie down. I mean, it was doing dishes, vacuuming was just everything took me forever, and this was a long time. So it's basically 37 years of misery and double duty since 2014. Well, I woke up and my pain was gone. I'm thinking, is this real? Huh. Because I haven't even walked my dog. I used to walk all the way around huge shopping plazas, Walmart and Stop and Shop, and got to the point where I couldn't do that anymore now. So I waited. I emailed her and told her about my experience, and I said I think something else happened too. But I said it's too early to tell. I said I'll write back. I didn't want to tell her that I was healed. So I just can't believe it, right? So 4 days later, I wrote her back. I said, you know what? I told her the whole backstory. I said, I think I'm healed. My back's healed. It's 3 weeks. I'm still okay. Now my muscles get tired, but they get tired evenly. It's not pulling left to right. Plus, I haven't exercised since 2014 because of my accident. So I'm lacking it's been a long time since I've walked a mile. And so I do get kind of a little tired, but I'm okay. I can still function.
How did she react to your news that you were feeling much, much better?
Well, she hasn't written back. She gets 1,000 emails a month.
Wouldn't it be
Um,
wonderful if she said, I know that?
I think, well, you know what was cool? When we were on the Zoom, Nick, she was talking to me and she was gesturing to me in her right hand, and I saw white light shoot up out of her fingertips off her right hand when she was going like this. And I don't think she noticed because she's just talking and whatever, answering a question. And as soon as she stopped, I said, June, I saw white light shoot out of your fingertips. And she didn't say anything. She just smiled.
She smiled.
Yeah,
I bet it's not the first time someone mentioned that to her.
she's merged with an archangel. They're powerful. So people say she's had witnesses. If you listen to some of her interviews, she has plenty. She has witnesses where her look will change when she has Ariel, because if she's battling a demon, if there's a really bad problem somewhere, her eyes will go white. I think she uses like a white sword. I don't know. It's all very mental and powerful. Uh, I don't know. She wrote a lot of books. I ordered 6. I got 3. I got The Dark Side of the Paranormal. I just got that today.
Okay.
Paranormal Encounters by her.
Well, let me see that one.
And then, but this is
Oh,
the one
yeah.
I was waiting for. Newest book just published, The Angel Primer. This is the one I got to read. I'll probably read it all in one night. But
They look
this
great. Even from the cover, they really do look inviting. Yeah.
this one will help me understand what's going on with me because I want to help people. I want to heal people. If I can do hands-on healing, wow. If my angel's a healer, that would be fantastic. And if I could do distance healing or whatever with my Vogels, but I guess there's a little bit of protocol that I don't understand. I'll read the back. It's not very much. It says there is more than 300,000 warrior angels incarnated in the world today, and another 300 million are walking the earth in spirit form. There are 7 archangels incarnated in the world at this time. This book is an instruction manual for all incarnated angels. If you have an angelic soul, this book is a must read. It is filled with everything you need to know. It will help you to understand who and what you are, as well as what your specialties and mission are. You will learn how to use your powers, abilities, and how to create weapons and protect yourself as well as others. And
That
that is
would get
always,
my attention too. That's wow, just what you just said. That would get my attention for sure. Very interesting.
she's the same age as me. I'm sick. I just turned 66 in April. And
You don't look a day over 39.
oh, I stopped my having birthdays at, was it 28? So I'm doing pretty good.
Yes, you are. And by the way,
Yeah.
I got to go back for a second. I could easily see you doing major healing. I feel that about you. I always have. I could just so easily see you doing the next step up of that process. I could easily see you doing that. I just wanted to put that in there.
I've had people tell me I should be a healer, not knowing much about it, never being introduced into crystals, and not even having any knowledge about hands-on healing other than what I've seen in the old folklore or TV, right? Um, I wasn't into Reiki. It just, I don't know, it just didn't jive with me. Um, I remember being with one very good friend, Sue. She was dying of cancer, and I went to visit her in the hospice. Oh, I was in tears. I sat on the edge of her bed, sobbing. She was like, "Don't cry," you know. And I put my hand on her thigh next to me. She was under the covers, and she screamed out. She goes, "You're burning me! You're burning me!"
Wow.
I pulled my hand off, and I went, "Wow, I must have had so much love for." She was like a second mother. That I just had all this energy coming out of me, and but then when I got into the Vogel crystals, that was really something. And I had aura pictures taken. Now my aura has morphed, but the most recent ones, I was emitting. I was all yellow, like lots of yellow, some orange, some indigo blue, but green. I was emitting green, what people feel, the healing energy and the heart energy. So yeah, I'm hoping to learn how to. Well, I've merged with my angel, but I guess your angel can come out and do things for you too. I don't know. I need to read this. I'm hungry for information. You know, it was cool. I
Well,
have a habit, a bad habit of watching the Facebook shorts. You can kind of scan through them. And
mhm.
I got into a string of paranormal ones, and it showed from a street camera. You know, you have the main road and the sidewalk and buildings on the other side. And one guy with a backpack was just innocently walking, and someone was following him. Obviously, this you can see the person behind him was speeding up and jumped him. Well, the guy spun around, and this other bigger dark thing came out and came out of his body and pushed away the criminal, and then went back into his body. Now that could have been
Wow.
an angel.
Wow.
That could have been a warrior angel. I'm thinking, wow, maybe I'll read about it in this book.
Maybe so. I'd like to hear about that. A
Yeah,
quick question. You mentioned color. The color turquoise. Ever since I was a kid, there's something about that color that just speaks to me. All the colors, of course, are wonderful, but turquoise just stands out as a very special color. Does that make any sense?
yeah, it would because the blue is the throat chakra, and it has to do with talking and communication. So you definitely have the gift of communicating with people, and your tone of voice and your mannerisms too. You know, the heart and what you say comes from the heart.
Mhm.
So I would think that the indigo blue in the green would make kind of a turquoise if you mixed them together, wouldn't it?
Yeah, the American Indians, of course, have turquoise stones that they treasure and make jewelry and things. There's a lot of other places that turquoise is a usual color that people gravitate towards. One other thing you mentioned, I just got to quickly say, is that my best friend was dying in a hospital of AIDS many moons ago. We were as close as two brothers could possibly be. I think of him always as one of my brothers, and he was dying. He was dying very quickly, much more quickly than anyone expected. And his parents were there on either side of him in the hospital room, and so were his two sisters were there too. They called me up and said, "Nick, please come. Bob is in really bad shape." Of course, I came immediately, and I was sitting a little distance from the family. I wanted to give them some room. The reason I'm bringing that up is that his eyes were closed even when I got there, so I don't know if he was aware of me or not. But when he passed on, it wasn't, I wasn't there that long when he literally passed on, or as the Urantia book people say, graduated. But when that happened, a white light, a joyous white light jumped from his body straight up in the air, and I saw it.
Yep.
Nobody in the room reacted, I couldn't talk. And it felt immediately like I'm free of my hurting body. I'm free to continue. And it was a feeling of joy. It just totally floored me. I
Oh,
couldn't talk.
a
And I just
question
wanted to
for you.
share that.
When you saw that light, did it go up like a rocket, like a column straight up?
It's like shot, like wham, shot
Yeah.
up.
Oh,
Yeah.
funny you should mention that. With these paranormal videos, another one from a street camera caught a car accident, and the ambulance were there. They had the helicopter lifting off, and then out of it, you see this out of the top of the helicopter. It
Okay.
was a
Wow.
white light. And yeah, the person's spirit, you could see because it was rounded on top, definitely. The person had died right then. And it's like, I'm out of here.
That's exactly, Eddie, that's exactly what I felt. There was no doubting in that at all. He was free. He was joyous. He was ready to go on. And it just, I'll tell you, it was, I still tear up when I think of it. And it was very, very real. No one in the room saw it. I did. And I stand by that. It happened. Now I'm seeing my producer, Hercules, is appearing, so that means that we have a few more minutes. Um, Ade, if you will, please, tell the audience if they have a question or they want to contact you, is there a way to do that?
Yeah, I do. Well, I am on Facebook under Adrienne Tobin. Um,
Toben, correct?
Thoben.
Oh, sorry. Say that again so we get it.
It's Adrienne, Adrienne.
Hmm.
Last name Tobin, Thoben.
Okay, thank you.
And you can just say you connected with Nick or whoever. Just give me a clue as to who you are, why you're contacting me. And I also have an email, but I get too many emails. Very involved in other humanitarian work and other things, and I'm short on time right now. So
It's a job just to go through your emails each day. I think we all are experiencing that. It's like a second job. There's so many that come in every single day.
yeah,
Um,
they can
I just
message
wanted to
me.
slip in that if anybody wants to know about Disclosure Network New York, which is an ET paranormal uh, UFO group of deep research, we have incredible people that are part of the membership. They could reach out to me and I would give them more information. They can do that. I'll give them my email, which is NICKNYNY1, and that's the numeral one at gmail.com. Again, Nick, NYNY1 at gmail.com. I'd be happy to give you membership information about our group. We're in Manhattan, but we have members in Hawaii. We have members in Europe. How wonderful that is to say that, but it's true. So anyhow, I want to just put that into the tape. Um, let's see, how many minutes do we have now, Hercules? Five or less?
Yes, it's 3 minutes.
Okay. Well then, Eddie, I want to thank you so much. I would like at some point to do a part two with you because I think, especially after you read those books and all that, that might certainly be part of a part two. So with your schedule, we'll see if we can work that in later in the summer. But I hope you can. I would love to have more time with you.
Well, I would love to share more knowledge when I get some. Yeah,
Well,
it's going to be interesting because I have a feeling with the way things are going in the world right now, we need all the spiritual warriors on deck with useful knowledge.
amen to that. Amen to a lot of people are feeling that right now. This is a very pivotal time. You got it right on the head.
This has been a spiritual battle. That's what we're in right now.
It feels that.
And talking about the death and everything, we are so gifted with eternal life. The demons that are going, they're when they go, they're gone. They do not have a soul. They fear death.
Interesting. Interesting. So anyhow, well, again, thank you so much for sharing this hour with me. It's totally appreciated. And this is Nick Curto for Disclosure Network, New York. Wishing you all a deep and satisfying journey in this life and beyond. And keep the door open to new possibilities and open to joy and love. And much love to you all tonight. Good night.
Thank you both for a wonderful show. I enjoyed it a great deal and I learned from it, and I'm looking forward to part 2.
Thanks, Hercules.
Be well and have a wonderful evening.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.